Hey everyone, Cassius here from SoundMojo. We just wanted to give you a quick little disclaimer before jumping into this episode. We are aware of the new developments that have occurred with Levara. If you're not aware, Trev Lukather is no longer a part of this group. So the two members that you're about to see, Jules and Josh, on this episode are still in the group. The group is still active, but we just didn't want to seem tone deaf here in lieu of the new announcement. We are aware that Trev is out. The interview that you're about to see was recorded before this announcement, just slightly before. So there is a bit of talk about Trev as if he's still actively in the group, because we would have been amiss not to ask those questions, what it's like to have the Steve Lukather influence and all of those aspects. It's good content that's still relevant to the band and their origin story. The only difference now is that Trev, at this moment, this date and time, is not in the group. So we just wanted to let you guys know that. We are aware, we stay up on all of this stuff, but at the same time, we want to consistently bring you guys quality content, and that's what we're looking to do with this episode. So hopefully you enjoy. Let's get into it.
We had to get up in front of people that usually wouldn't be our target demographic and perform. And be scrutinized by musicians and
it's a lot of musicians in the audience. Like they actually know music and they're checking out for the chops and the stuff.
Right.
And not just like, here's a cute band playing a song that I heard somewhere.
Welcome back to Innersleeve. It's episode number 22 here on SoundMojo. We're joined, as always, by the Underground King. If you want to get to the music, you got to go through him. Joe Pacheco, what's going on?
Fantastic day. We had such great weather that it'd be a crime to be upset.
Yeah, agreed. Frank Pavan, what do you say?
Well, I share those same sentiments, Joe. Great weather. I'm excited to be taping. It's like part of the highlight of my week is taping with you guys, so I enjoy that. I'm looking forward to getting into this episode. How have you been, Cassius? You good?
I've been doing good, just staying on top of this. It's been really cool because one of the topics we're going to talk about has actually been reminding me of like my last couple weeks talking with artists, really getting into their minds. But before we jump into that, I figured we might want to shed light on a current topic, because this week there's been so many concerts and tours either rescheduled or announced. But the biggest one that's being talked about right now is Mötley Crüe's stadium tour with Def Leppard, Poison, and Joan Jett. Now, just a quick rundown for people who don't know. Mötley Crüe announced their final farewell tour. They said they were never coming back. Shortly after, they announced the continuation of that farewell tour and then said, okay, we're done for good. And now they're back with another tour. So my question for you guys, does this seem somewhat disingenuous? Don't let me put words in your mouth, but this seems strange to me.
Very.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. Going through, just reading that article that we shared together was like, I think one of the biggest question marks was just how they basically admitted, or it shared the revenue that was already earned from this event. And but the event hasn't happened yet. It's pretty weird. And they're just like, hey, we made all this money, but you're still gonna have to wait. That's basically is what is going down, and that's just the weird part for me. I understand they're committed to giving the people the show that they paid for. It's just weird. It's weird because usually, like, you wanna. I think we were talking about this off air, right, Cassius? You wanna prove the trust and loyalty to those who commit dollars to you. And so, like you said, like the easiest way would just be cancel. Hey, we'll reschedule, because it's so difficult. People, it's one thing to just, if you don't cancel and you set another date, who's to say these people can make it? They probably booked things, to make it so that their schedule can fit this specific
The actual
date.
Fans who are going.
Yeah, the actual fans. I mean,
Yes. No, that's a great point. I mean, when the way that I see it, like artists have the opportunity, especially artists who have shows scheduled already before the pandemic, they have a opportunity to show their fans how much they care for them and really how much they respect their fans. You can hang on to the money and just say, we're going to try to reschedule it and maybe cancel it again. But if I was a fan of somebody and they said, we're going to give you your money and then give you the chance to maybe come back, I would respect that more. And I think that just paired with the fact, I don't know what you think, Joe, but that this is the third farewell tour, I think both of these combinations is leaving a bad taste in my mouth.
That's one issue I have with it. Mötley Crüe, I don't remember. Didn't they have the whole press conference about signing contracts? About
they
never
signed a
coming back
contract
again? and stuff. So I don't know. I haven't kept up. I kind of thought it was a little flaky, you know, like, okay, we're going to sign contracts, this and that. Then I took their word for it. Then I saw that they were on tour a couple years later, you know. So same thing with this. Like, I mean, I have a show that was canceled just before the pandemic, not because of the pandemic, but because of laryngitis. But it was like, you know, $40 show. It's like, but this ranges from $150 to $400.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's a lot more money. And like you said, Frank, you know, like, who's to know that I can go that day? And then I have to figure out, like, is it the onus on the ticket owner to try to figure out how to get rid of your tickets or sell your tickets, which might not be hard, but you know, like,
it's still a time
given
commitment.
an option. Yeah, or are you given an option to, like, okay, you know, I'll accept a refund, you know, because I'm sure some people will keep their tickets and hang on for it, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
And since it's called the Stadium Tour, is all of this being taken? I mean, maybe Cassius, you know, is all of this taking place indoors, like in an arena of some sort?
I think at least open air. Think of like Yankee
I'm thinking
Stadium.
it's baseball stadiums, football
because that's
stadiums.
so weird, man. Like, I'll bring it back to sports here, but you know, we're in the midst of the playoffs here for the NHL. I know we're music channel talking about sports, but like, you're seeing like crowd, like thousands of people in closed arenas right now.
Yes.
Right now, as it stands, like this week. So
yes,
granted, it's not full arenas or stadiums, but
it's more than we've had in a year. You know,
it's weird. You know, like this whole concept of returning back to live concerts. It's like, it shouldn't be 2022. It should be, you know, a bit sooner than that if you think about it, especially if you're having open air or like partly open places. I'm surprised.
Is there like, I mean, because like these are like, the shows are sold, right? They're sold out almost.
Yes.
And this is what, like 50,000 people, 40,000 people, some of these places?
Well, they've sold over 1 million tickets just about for the stadium tour with Mötley Crüe. The reports say that they've grown 30 million.
That's it. So how, like, I get it, everybody's going to come back to shows, but we're all going to have to still be a little bit, or is it going to be just like let's go back to normal? Because if you have 60,000 people in a place for Mötley Crüe, for all, see all these guys, but like then you have to only have 50% capacity, well, you're going to have to refund 50% of the people. So it's
a messy situation they're in.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So, you know, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with it, but I don't know. I mean, it's easy to say I wouldn't want to run around with $130 million of my fans' money, but if that was offered to me, it's also easy to change your mind. So I'm not really in a position to judge Mötley Crüe, but maybe give your fans their cash. That could be interesting. Speaking of giving the fans what they want, we're about to do that. And not only that, the artists that we have on the show have done a great job of doing that. They just released their brand new debut self-titled record. It's called Levara. It came out on May 14th. And this is an awesome rock group based out of California. He was not featured in this interview, but one of the 3 members of this group is actually Trev Lukather, son of Steve Lukather, who has graced the Innersleeve podcast. So if you missed the interview with Steve Lukather, of course, go watch that after the podcast with Levara. But until then, we're going to get you guys into this interview. And when we come back, we have a couple more topics related to all the breaking stuff in music. We're back with 2 more incredible guests here on this episode of Innersleeve. Joining us from all the way over in California, Jules, Galli, and Josh Devine, vocalist and drummer of Levara. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for having us.
Hey, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. You know, to jump right into it, I've been listening to the record and you guys' debut record, the advanced copy, and I think I can sum it up in one word: big. Big choruses, big hooks, big guitars. I'm curious, what was like the musical germination, so to speak, of this project? What really sent you guys in this direction and got you moving forward?
So it's about a 3-year journey for us. We started with 1 song in the studio, and Josh and Trev had worked on a really dope, like heavy rock riff instrumental. I wrote a song to it with them all. We got in the studio, recorded it, and it was just for 1 song, but it kind of just set the pace of what we could do. And like you said, like really big stuff, really like kind of just epic, you know, it's got to be in an arena kind of song.
Totally.
And the more we wrote, the more we realized, hey, like we could actually be a band. So we formed a band. At the time, it was definitely more like what would you say, like rock, like raw.
It was raw, especially production wise. It was a lot more kind of, you know, two guitars left and right playing the same thing.
Right.
Bass, drums, vocals. It wasn't too much thinking on like, hey, how can we think outside the box?
Very traditional meat and potatoes kind of rock, which is great, but it wasn't exactly what you guys have on this record.
Exactly.
No.
So we kept working. At the time, we were called a different name. We toured a bit, so we got our chops together. And then when we got to Europe, we were opening for Toto, and we did one show for Journey. No, not for Journey, sorry, Foreigner. We opened for Foreigner, an acoustic set. And so that's when the song Automatic kind of came to us. Just an idea on a iPhone voice memo. We just put it in the can. And then when we came back to LA, we needed to get in the studio and record kind of like the 2.0 of our band. Like, like, okay, we've been through a few things. We've played songs. We see how people react to it. Now let's really record and get in with a producer, do things the right way. And we did Automatic, which led us to like discovering this new, more, you'd say, polished, a little bit more pop oriented, a little more, polished rock sound. That is the album.
Interesting. Yeah. Cause I mean, I was going to ask that because I have the quote here. Josh, you were saying that, or sorry, Jules, you were saying that it had this extra it factor that you guys had been searching for. So I guess it had to do with production and really just the general orientation of the record is what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And the songwriting, I mean, the song Automatic really is, it's just the song that really kind of decided where it would go sonically. And what's funny is the demo recording we did, which caught the ear of Mascot, had 12-string acoustic. It was still different than what you're hearing on the record, but it had all of these possibilities. And I think it's because of the song in itself. That was just, songs kind of, if you let them go, they decide where they want to go.
And also it's very much shaped by whoever you choose to allow to help grow your baby. Like when you go to, you're working with a producer, if that producer goes, hey, like I have a vision for this sound, like hear me out guys. What about sticking this in it? And you kind
totally. And you have that relationship where you can trust that person because you've picked them very carefully.
Exactly. Yeah. And so everything was just kind of shaped in the studio. It's because originally, I suppose, when it was just, guitar and vocals, it kind of had such a different feel to it. And then suddenly when the production is packed on top, it still has the same integral pieces, but it's like, everything changes. You're like, okay, cool. I'm seeing a picture now rather than just hearing the picture. You're seeing the full landscape. So yeah, and then obviously it just evolves. And Ethan Kaufman, absolute legend.
Yeah, he's a great producer.
Really brought the best of the mix. And it was really, really cool to kind of see this come to life.
And it sounds fantastic. Definitely everybody's, the singles out, everybody's going to enjoy the full record. You mentioned touring with Toto, touring with Foreigner. I mean, incredible groups to be touring with. What sorts of things did you guys pick up in terms of learning your chops? Because there must be so many extra things while on tour with groups of that caliber, so to speak, in the earlier stages.
I guess for me personally, even though I've toured a lot in my life, touring with this level of people that are following you, that are going on, you're just there to warm up the people a bit. They're all there knowing what these bands are capable of, and they're ready to be blown away every night, as were we when we watched them. So for us, it was kind of like, we had to get up in front of people that usually wouldn't be our target demographic and perform and, be scrutinized by musicians. And
it's a lot of musicians in the audience. Like they actually know music and they're checking out for the chops and the stuff. And not just like, here's a cute band playing a song that I heard somewhere. It's
not like a festival crowd that just wandered in. These are real music, like aficionados, really.
Yes, exactly.
These are the people that stand there, cross arm, go and impress me.
Right, like a challenge almost.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always going to be hard to try and warm up for a band or bands of that caliber who have had 40 plus years of success and experience and dedicated fans and stuff. So it was good, but I think we really as a band rose to the occasion, and we didn't let any of that kind of scare us, and we went in, and I feel we put on a good show, and we were met with loving people back, which was really nice. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like an incredible opportunity. I actually had a conversation with Steve Lukather here on this show, and he actually brought you guys up in regards to Trev, and he said people think it's easier for Trev, but it's actually harder for Trev because he's my son. Now, you can't speak for your bandmate, but in terms of you guys' personal experience, what's your relationship been like with that, and have you felt any of that aspect at all?
Yeah, I mean, I can see it from the point of view if there's somebody who is up here, top of their game, idolized by billions of people, and you're having to kind of rise up to that challenge. It's not just going to be an easy handoff. Like, that's a tough step, but
sure.
Yeah, it was kind of, at the end of the day, everyone's got their own voice, everyone's got their own vibe going on. So you just gotta knuckle down and get on with it, and hope that people love you for you. And
yes,
and I feel like even just as a whole band, we really accomplished that well. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't speak.
No, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
People that have seen us, they may have a different point of view, but that's what it seemed like to us.
No, I think it's fantastic. In terms of Steve, have you guys gotten any sage advice from him in terms of music, or is there really conversation at all with him about music?
There was. I mean, I don't know if it's conversations or more like experience, because we toured with him and the Toto band. We also were invited every night to close the show with Africa with them. So I would say just like bathing in that vibe,
that energy.
I remember on a personal note, like I was singing the background vocals with him and Trev, and I was like on the same mic, and at one point, like I was so excited,
Of course.
It was the first night.
I think it was the first, maybe the second
night.
And then Luke is saying like, "Hey, you sound great, but like don't rush on the, don't rush on the first things." I was like, "Oh shit."
You're like, "Sorry, man."
I'm so excited, And, so that was one instance, but I think just in general, he was just like, basically like in Steve's words, kind of like, go fuck him up, just like go show them what you got. You guys have it. That's why you're here. That's why we believe in you, and just do your thing,
Yeah,
absolutely.
He was just very, very much like, you can tell he believed in us. He believed in the music. He loved what he heard. Yeah. And he would stand side stage and watch us most nights. Like, he you can tell he was a proud father, but also he was proud of the band. Like he saw what we went from day one.
In a non-biased way, he appreciated what you guys were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, you can tell he really loved the music. It's like he would not stop raving about Jules, like with his voice. So, I mean, it's just kind of, it's a beautiful thing. It's really nice to have recognition from people that are at the top of their game.
No doubt.
So yeah, it was brilliant. What an experience.
Absolutely.
That was almost 2 years ago.
2019.
So you guys you got to start it a few years ago, and so how did the pandemic coming in affect you guys' progress? Did it affect you at all, or did you just say, okay, we'll send each other tracks back and forth?
We just finished, and so the day LA shut down, we just gone in for the final, like, kind of
mixing
run through all the mixing.
Wow. Talk about timing.
We were so lucky with timing, and in a way, I mean, we have to be more patient to get on the road, because like we were supposed to go on the road in June this year, but obviously it got postponed. Our album was supposed to come out
last year,
right, months ago. So in that regard, that kind of sucks, but it's not so negative, because on a positive, we had more time to create visuals and to set up the release of this album. Like at first, I think we were only supposed to do a music video for Automatic, release Automatic, and then release the album. But then we had more time on our hands. We weren't going to tour anytime soon, but we still had to create that momentum and establish like who are the people in this band and what we look like, vibe. And so Mascot, believing in the album so much, thought, hey, let's just actually do more singles. I think it's going to be 5 singles by the time the album comes out, and visuals for all of them. So for that, I think we got really lucky and turned like a negative into a positive.
Absolutely. And I mean, shout out to Mascot, because it sounds like they have an incredible vision. I mean, is there anything else you can tell me about working with them? Because it sounds like they're very smart with their rollouts.
Well, they were good. So basically, when the pandemic first hit, myself and my wife went back to the UK. So we actually went to California. So actually, you know, that put quite a strain on the band as a whole, where you've got two guys here, and then myself in the UK. So it was kind of, Mascot really helped facilitate, like, okay, how are we going to do this? They ended up organizing everything. I went back. We did like 2 weeks of just nonstop work.
We did 3 music videos in like 10 days.
Wow.
Photo shoots, yeah.
That's crazy.
But it's just, you know, obviously a label as well that's main base is in Europe. So, you know, navigating time differences and stuff, it's been a challenge, but yeah, they've really risen to the occasion. It's just great to work with people, again, that believe in you and believe.
No question.
And because there's so many, you know, you can get signed to the biggest labels that have all the biggest bands, and you know,
nothing will happen.
Nothing. Yeah.
I've heard with so many stories of peers and friends that to them it happened. So to be with an indie label,
a slightly smaller label,
yeah,
but still have the drive and passion.
They have the drive, and they put the right people on the team to help us get to, you know, there's still a long way to go, but
yeah,
we're with the right team. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what a strong start. You know, you guys are kicking ass, and, you know, you're making music too that I feel like by the time you first finish, like Automatic, for example, you know how to move to that song. You sort of know how to sing along to that song. So you guys must be excited for festivals when they come back and such.
Oh, man.
Cannot wait.
Yeah.
No, maybe not.
No, for sure.
No. Like,
you are? Okay.
Legit, like, for me personally, I've spent all of my adult life on tour and playing live. So to spend this long without going and playing one show, even in a pub,
it's like, huge.
Oh man, it's horrible. I feel like I don't know who I am anymore.
And this will be the first time that we get to play to audiences, I mean, I hope, that actually know our songs. When we went touring, we did 3 tours, and in Europe was like the biggest one, but you know, we had
1 song or 2 songs that we just put out online.
Yeah, a few people knew them.
It's a couple.
But yeah, this is going to be a first.
Yeah, and
definitely.
It's gonna be fun to get together and translate these songs from the record live. And
no question.
Work out ways of like, hey, how are we going to do this? How are we going to transition? It's so much fun to do, you know. So it's going to be really fun to be able to play. And there's so many songs on the album that I can't wait to see how they come out live. I think it's going to be some great moments.
Audience participation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, a lot of that. Yeah, definitely. You guys will be able to get the call to action.
Don't false advertise.
No false advertisements here.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable.
Nice.
Josh, you mentioned being on tour for most of your life. I'm just curious, as a side note, about your work with One Direction. I know you were playing with them live for how long exactly?
Since the very beginning until
since the beginning.
So I think I came in 2011. That was the first tour, and then kind of it spiraled out of control until end of 2015, beginning of 2016. So yeah, I spent a long time with them, and I toured with other bands in the UK from about 17 onwards. So, and I'm 29. Wow. I'm 30 this year. Wow. So
that's amazing.
It's I've been doing it for a long time, but yeah, I just feel very comfortable on stage. Probably more comfortable on stage than anything else, really.
No, that makes sense for sure. I mean, those shows too. I mean, I've heard stories of the screaming, and it was compared to Beatles level. Is there any accuracy to that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I wasn't alive in the Beatles time. I wish I could have seen that, but from pictures and videos and stuff, so it wasn't even just the screaming in the shows. It was like, you know, outside hotels. There were times we were in South America, and there's like 10,000-15,000 people on the street.
Wow.
It took like these escorts just to get into the hotel and out of the hotel.
Holy shit.
That kind of thing to see was like Beatles stuff. I would never dream of comparing the band to Beatles, because obviously the Beatles are like, you know, legendary. I'm not saying that the One D is nothing like that, but you
can't really compare anyone to the Beatles.
Right? But the hysteria was very, very similar. And even just for me, myself, like I'm nobody. I just play the drums as a session guy in the band. And even having people chase you down the street in New York, like it's mental. It's experiences that I'll take with me to the grave. They're incredible, you know.
That is incredible. Unbelievable.
It's gonna happen again. We're gonna be walking in Times Square, and there's gonna be girls chasing Jules. I can't wait.
You guys are ramping up to it right now. I mean,
exactly.
Seriously.
Well, believe it.
So, Jules, are you born and raised in California?
No, actually, France. I was born
gotcha.
in
So
Lyon.
you just ended up relocating.
Yes, I've been in America. We moved with my family first in Miami, which was almost 12 years ago now. And I went to high school, and just the pursuit of the American dream. And then after high school, I was really serious about pursuing music. I had to pack my bags and move to the musical hub of arguably the country. So Los Angeles was the destination, and that was about 7 years ago, I think.
Mm.
Wow. So you've been there for quite a while. So, I mean, here on WatchMojo, we're known for a lot of our top 10 lists, and we do these obviously quite regularly. One of the lists we have is our top 10 songs about California. But before we get into the list, I'm just wondering, do you guys have any favorite songs about California or artists from California?
At the top of my head, there would be two bands that come to mind: The Doors and Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, I was going to say Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Quintessential.
Yeah,
They're so good.
for sure. They just paint like such a. There's also Sublime. Sublime is they just paint like the right picture of what California is, and then to go a little bit more urban, Snoop Dogg and the whole West Coast, like
Totally.
Dr. Dre, like you just turn on that jam and smoke a blunt, and it's like where you're at, So
No doubt.
I'd say as well, like the bands I grew up in, like Linkin Park, POD.
Are they from here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, POD are from
Wow.
San Diego.
oh yeah. Well, that's
And
cool.
we're on the same label as them now, which is cool. Alien Ant Farm, all these bands that I grew up on were all California. Whether they started here or not, I think pretty sure they've all ended up here. So, yeah,
That's really cool.
There's a bunch when you start thinking about it. Huh? There's a lot of.
There are. Have you guys got to check out, like, obviously you've probably checked out the Roxy and places like that. What's your favorite one in terms of the legendary clubs in LA?
I saw some bands at the Roxy. That was pretty legendary.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the place is great. We played a show at Viper Room. That was fun.
Yeah, Viper Room is played there. I played there many times.
Yeah.
It's those places are they're great for what they used to be.
Right.
They're
Historical landmark.
Majorly
they're a little different now. Like you can play Whiskey a Go-Go and pay to play there and stuff, and it's kind of like great memories, great legends who have been in there, but it definitely is the past.
It's maybe more of a novelty now for maybe people who aren't from LA. Like, hey, I'm a perfect target. I'd be out there taking pictures.
Exactly.
For sure,
exactly.
Yeah. And the House of Blues, when the House of Blues was still on
that
Sunset
was
Boulevard, that was epic. I remember when we used to tour here, 5 Seconds of Summer played there. And I remember that was so epic to see such a new band play at such a historically legendary place.
And that felt like you'd walk into like a Disneyland of music.
Yeah,
It was
you
like,
get thrown back straight away. It's such a shame. I think it's a block.
That's awesome.
I think it's all apartments now, which
yeah.
is sad. I hate development.
Do you guys have a dream venue that you would like to play? I mean, coming up, I know obviously there's no shows right now, but for Levara, where would you guys like to see like you guys' name as the top of the bill? Is there any dream spots? I know it's sort of tough to just come up with names of them, but
Staples Center, Madison Square Gardens, Wembley Stadium, even Wembley Arena, BIC in Bournemouth, where I was born.
See, so I would go obviously all the ones you stated, like the big ones, the obvious ones.
Stade de France.
Stade de France in Paris. On a personal note, I'd love to, just like you said, Bournemouth, which is where you're from. I'd love to go back to Lyon.
Yeah.
The very first concert I've ever been to see Johnny Hallyday was they call it Les Nuits de Fourvière, which is an outdoor summer festival, and every weekend or every night they have different artists, and it's like in this really old amphitheater that used to be built by the Romans, And
wow.
it's right next. Yeah, it's super special to me.
That's
and
amazing.
it's right next to the conservatory, which is where I went. So it's like, it would just be like this giant full circle.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to do that.
Wow.
Absolutely, yeah.
Lots of big outdoor stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Outdoors.
Totally.
Indoor arenas are cool as hell.
Mhm.
But outdoor, there's something else about it. Like when you see the elements, it's so
Right.
good. It's better. As long
Yeah,
as it's not
definitely.
As long as it's not raining. I was just gonna say, like, imagine
It's
if
not
was
raining, right?
But you're
I've
like,
been-
no.
I've played too many shows in the rain, and electronics and drums don't work in the
True,
rain.
true.
It sucks.
If it's cold rain, I'd be like, all right, guys, we're
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Thanks for coming out.
yeah.
It must be hard though to play and sing in the cold like that. I've never really thought about it. I mean, you see it looks cool, but it must be tough.
Yeah. See, actually, want to go back to your questions about what we learned on tour with Toto. A lot of the dates were outside, and the level, and that's what Joseph Williams would tell me. He was very supportive and kind of just literally told me everything he knew about singing, like just completely open, like an open book. And one thing he said, he was like, from sound check to the show, everything can change, because on sound check, you might have a dry environment and then it rains a little bit, which actually happened in Italy. Yeah. And then you come back to the stage and everything feels different in your voice. And that's happened. So it's hard outside because the environment can change on you. And for a vocalist or even for the instruments, for strings, things will get out of tune and all that stuff. So, but indoor felt easier for me personally as a vocalist, because it's just stable.
You're in a controlled environment. What was that?
I said it's amazing how that stuff actually affects. Like, I would never have thought, from coming from a singing point of view, that even just the air dropping by a couple of degrees can like have an impact on the way you sing and your voice. It's incredible.
That's pretty crazy to think about. Wow. So I know I teased the WatchMojo top 10 California songs list. So we got the top 5 here. Number 5, shout out to The Doors, LA Woman. Number 4, California Love, Tupac.
Yes, come on.
Yeah, I need that. California Girls at number 3, The Beach Boys. California Dreamin' at number 2, The Mamas and the Papas. Any guesses for number 1 California song?
Hotel California by the Eagles.
Okay, Jules.
And that's a good one. I mean, that is like one of the highest selling songs in the world. Man. Or what about Danny California, Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Or California Girls by Katy Perry.
Okay, there you go. See, you never know. I wish I had a drum roll sound effect right now.
Dog in that song, so I could.
Exactly. Thank you. The authentic drum roll. Number 1 is Hotel California. You got it right.
That was your first guess.
They got Don Henley.
Isn't it crazy that it's the highest ranking reggae song in the world, played by a bunch of white guys?
Yeah, seriously. Isn't that interesting?
It's the highest selling reggae song in the world.
I didn't realize it was classified as reggae, actually.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said that either. Wow.
They used to call it, when they were writing it, they called it country reggae, because they had no lyrics, no name for it. They're like, yo, what's that country reggae jam? And
Wow. Damn.
That's interesting. And see, now when Lil Nas X did the country song, they tried to take it out of the country. I'm like, no, we need to let it transfer all the way, you know? Yeah. I was just interviewing a rapper the other day, and he said, if I do a song speaking Chinese, it's a Chinese song. He's like, it is what it is. So I'm like, that's interesting to think about the crossover. If you guys want more top 10s, of course, subscribe to the core channel on YouTube, WatchMojo, and subscribe to us here on SoundMojo. And I want to thank the guys from Levara, Jules and Josh. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And of course, we encourage everybody to go pre-order the debut record via Mascot Records. Thank you guys so much.
Woo! Cheers. Thank you.
Awesome time chatting with Levara. You know, this is a really cool, new, fresh band. And I think, honestly, very much needed in the rock scene, if I may be candid and say so.
You may be, you know, all that to say, I thought they were, like, I heard when we were offered, like, when it came across our feed, not offered, when we came across our feed and I listened to it right away, it was instant, like, wow, okay, this is, you know, really good pop, songwriting, rock. instantly catch, I was singing that song automatic the entire day as soon as I heard it. So it's like, and then like, even like you get more into the vocals and you're like, where the hell has this singer been my entire life? Like when I was looking for a singer, this is the guy I was looking for, with that crazy range and great delivery. Very, very good band.
Another,
cool.
Just before we end off with Levara, by the way, I love that we have bands on like this, because that's kind of what our show is all about, right? It's about giving, you know, a bit of spotlight,
breaking new ground.
Spotlight, exactly, for these bands. Another thing that I want to go with mentioning is shout out to Steve Karras, the publicist, manager, whatever you want to call him, because Steve has been a godsend. He's helped us out with Levara and with Steve Lukather and Toto and Joe Williams. So that's it. I wanted to give a shout out to Steve, because I feel like these people behind the scenes don't get it. But that's it. Thanks to you, Steve.
It's always great to have good reps, you know, that I mean, without the reps that are great at facilitating this, we, you know, are like nothing. It's like, just like without the fans or the viewers, we're nothing. So we need all these pieces to come together. And, you know, what you said about Jules's vocals is so true, Joe. You know, just belting it, just really going for it. And Josh too, really cool to hear his experience with One Direction. I actually, you know, it may be obvious from the Black Sabbath shirt, I wasn't overly familiar with One Direction, but definitely cool to get familiar.
Yeah. Like it's interesting that he even mentioned, like, you know, at that point, it's great because he almost had Beatle-like experience, right? But yet he's a session musician that usually nobody even knows who the drummer is or who the guitar player is, you know, unless you're like a nerd, like he said, you know, like you're come there to watch who's playing, right? Great. It's great to see both sides of the coin, you know, and the fact that like you can also rock out, you know. Another thing to mention on this record is like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. The guitar playing is great. The guitar lines are great. You know, the guitar sounds are great. So it's like, it's Trev Lukather. Yeah.
Totally. Really the influence of Steve too, because, you know, we heard what Steve had to say about it. Now we got to hear some of the flip side from Trev's bandmates. So I thought it was just, you know, fascinating all around. You know, it's a really good time, I feel like, for music fans, especially fans of rock. There's, like we said, so many tours being announced, but also something awesome just came out on April 30th, a documentary called What Drives Us. Now, if you haven't heard of this documentary came to fruition from Dave Grohl. He's the director of it, and he went around to all of his big rock star friends. We're talking Lars Ulrich, Ringo Starr, The Edge, you name it. Steven Tyler. I mean, you know, if you guys look up the list online, it's Flea. So many people. Flea. Yeah, there you go.
St. Vincent. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop.
Exactly. No. It's crazy, the list. And basically he interviews them about what it was like for them to start touring in a van, especially, and in a small tour bus, and be in close quarters, and really, like, if it's so miserable, why would you do this in a way? I don't know. What did you take from this, Joe?
Oh, I learned that, like, it's universal, whether you're sports or just family going down the highway, farts. Nobody appreciates farts in cars or vans.
Yeah. One commonality we all have.
And the fact that, like, that Ringo Starr, a Beatle. Did you ever picture a Beatle farting? Not me. You know
no, I mean? Didn't think that was
the
possible.
Fact that he said, if you fart, announce it, just because it'll solve so many arguments and like stupid fights and stuff. Like that's a fun takeaway.
It humanizes these people, you're saying.
Yeah, it's like you're stuck in a van with gear, and like you're sleeping on your gear because you'll lie down the gear at the bottom and like try to get as comfortable as you can, you know, and you're stuck. And sometimes people think, you know, you rock out for those 2 hours and a bit of a party after, but if you got to go do an 8-hour drive, it's that'll tax anybody, you know, like, and then you got to get up and play again and then drink and then go back on the road.
And it's not like they've got drivers themselves sometimes. So
no, and that's what's interesting.
Sometimes they don't in the beginning, especially. A lot of the time, you're right. They would have to take turns to drive.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you have no choice. You're gonna pass out and veer off the road. But what's interesting is how Dave said they have in the movie they show you he has his own, like, the Foo Fighters original tour van from 1995. Even
he
though
got
this
it
guy
back.
And even though this guy had, like, what, millions of dollars, you know, from the Nirvana success, he wanted to make it real. That was his thing. It's like, this is how you bond, you know. It's like, there's no atheists in foxholes, as they say, right? So it's like, you have no choice but to get together, or that's what will break you apart. And you see, some of these people have been doing it their entire lives. That's all they know is touring the road.
It's crazy. You know, one of the things I really picked up from it, I would agree with that, is that, like, I think this is the best description I've ever heard, and even after interviewing a lot of people in this field myself, as to why they love it so much. Not necessarily why they love it, what they love about these circumstances. You know, you mentioned like the concert isn't the taxing part, and you know, even you know, like the guys from the Chili Peppers were saying that, like when you're on stage, there's no pain, there's no negative feeling, there's nothing. And Adam Carolla, the comic, brought this up. They're not paying you to do an hour of music or an hour of stand-up. They're paying you to get up, go to the airport, be exhausted at 4:30 in the morning, drag through another city and not know where you are. That's what you're getting paid for. So this really, I think, illustrated that nicely.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see. Like, I've never done it, you know, but I've thought as a kid, oh yeah, you know, no problem, I'll tour and stuff, but I've never done it. At this point, if you asked me, I would not do it.
You know, it'd be an interesting question to ask all these guys who've toured like coast to coast or whatever. Is what's the vehicle of choice for these bands?
Ford
I wonder if
Econoline.
there's a standard. Which one?
Ford Econoline is probably the ones that, like, yeah.
Is
there
that the 70s one?
Well, they've been around forever, but I mean, they were in the 90s too. But like, yeah, I'm sure.
You think of those Volkswagen vans?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I wonder which ones. It's true. It would be an interesting statistic.
That'd be cool.
You know,
if
you're
they
a
have
band,
like these group chats with each other. Oh yeah, we're getting this one. It's more comfy. It's got the extra legroom.
Seriously, it was so hard to picture some of these guys even thinking about legroom, though. Like you mentioned Ringo and the Beatles, like even picturing the Beatles in a van sharing and sleeping on their drums was impossible for me, because when I first saw them, they were getting flown into Shea Stadium on a helicopter, on a video.
But you know, little do people know that these guys played for like 4 years or something, two gigs a day, 6 days a week in Germany, live in clubs, you know, like just to get their act down perfect, you know, and everything.
They had this underground club, right, that they would frequent?
Something like that, yeah. It's like, and it was part of that. I heard that story through the whole 10,000 hours thing. Like they put in their 10,000 hours. People just think they put out an album and it blew up. No, there was a lot of work, you know. So those guys were definitely living together, you know, and a lot of these bands, you know, I've heard stories from friends of mine where it's like, you know, you sleep in the van. If you don't get a place, if you get a couch, it's like it's a resort, right? And like, even like just artists that forget about touring, just like living in their jam spaces. It's minus 30 outside and there's no heating in these places, you know, and like the sacrifice people make. Like, honestly, sometimes when I think about it, it's like, why would anybody do music, right? Because it's so hard. It's so like almost guaranteed you're not gonna succeed or like, you know, find the immense success that some of these people do. But that's when it just comes down to being part of, like, it's just music. You're going to do it whether you get paid to or not, right? Like, that's just what you want to do.
How do you guys find, sorry to cut you off, Joe. How do you guys find Dave Grohl was as a director / interviewer?
I was actually impressed. I think it was, there was one part where they had all the guys telling like basically the craziest story that ever happened to them, and they had it edited like one continuous story. So it'd have like Steven Tyler saying this, then this girl took off her prosthetic leg, and then the edge would be like, and then the guy jumped off the roof, and it was put together in such a way. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I think Dave Grohl, I mean, he's not like the interviewer of all interviewers, but he's like the musician of all musicians. Like, I don't know anybody that doesn't like the guy, you know, and like, he's been through it all. He's seen it all. So it's natural for him, you know, it's just a conversation. Anyways, you know, he's partied with all of these guys for the last 30 years. So it's like, they're sort of friends, you know, it's like, it's just an easy, open conversation.
Yeah.
That's the cool part about it. And, you know, it really gave me just a closing point on it. It really gave me a sort of more appreciation and clarity for like what these artists go through. Like, and more appreciation for the ones that take the time to talk to, like Innersleeve, for example. Like, when you've gone through so much shit, you've been eating pizza pops off the floor and sleeping in dirty clothes, like you don't want to maybe do an interview. And I can appreciate that, especially after putting myself more so in their shoes. So it's more grateful for the guys that do take the time to share. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally, 100%. Like when you get people jumping on you and you just like, you probably don't feel well. Cause like even just like the fact that you might smell, like you said, you haven't taken a shower yet or whatever. But like, you know, you wake up sometimes, you just don't feel great, you know, like, or you heard some bad news, you know, and it's like, I always wondered that, like with people who do like the morning shows or like any TV kind of stuff, when you have some hard tragedy in your life, the show must go on kind of thing. And like, how do you do it? How do you do it? You know, people get pissed and say like, oh, you know, he canceled this show. I'm so bummed out. What a crappy artist. But what do you know happened?
Exactly. You really never know the way someone's going to react, right? And like the show maybe can't always go on. Like, you know, you saw Kanye West run off stage mid-show because his wife got like kidnapped. Hey, I would do the same thing. Can't even lie, you know? We can sit here and judge, but we haven't been there.
That's it, yeah.
Believable. I really like the documentary. I mean, I would recommend it to people personally.
Oh, totally. You get an insight. And you know what, like we spoke about this before, I don't want to forget this, but like I always find like, you know, even in like It Might Get Loud, I don't know if you've seen that documentary with Jimmy Page, The Edge as well, and
yes. Oh man,
you know, so I always had like a takeaway from one of these guys, from like one guy, and it was on that one, it was the guy from the White Stripes. What's his name again? I'm just having a blank.
Jack White.
Jack White. When I saw his effort, the fact that he would move the chair an extra inch to make him work that much harder to get there to play that part on time, you know, all those things that like brought like a huge amount of respect for me. So from here, not that I didn't have any respect for, let's say, like Flea, right? But like when he tells you what he went through as a kid and the bullying and this and the fact that he was more into Miles Davis and jazz, and it makes so much sense. It pieced everything together for me because he does a lot of these, like he'll be in like he's on the first album of the Mars Volta, you know, as a player there, and that's like some really far out kind of rock jazz kind of stuff, you know. So it humanizes people. That's what I wanted to say. You know, it's like it just makes you realize that like you put in your 8 hours in the office or in construction or roofing or whatever you're doing, these guys put in those 8 hours as well, you know, or more, right?
That's the thing. There's no free lunch in terms of like work and progress. And I feel like whether it's acting, whether it's comedy, whether it's music, it is still work. And these people are still going through a lot of the similar things. So I know we could go all day on this documentary. I think it was fascinating. I don't know if there's anything else you guys wanted to add, but I think this was a great episode. I'm proud of this episode.
Yeah, and I would just say check out Levara, check out SoundMojo. We're dropping new artists all the time, always putting up new content. Check out our socials, you know where all the links usually are, and I'll let you go.
Yep. Look out for a few more big interviews or guests on the way. We're pretty excited to drop those. Honestly, we're chatting as a group here, and we're like, oh damn, can't wait for the SoundMojo subscribers to get a taste for who we've got next. So look, we love that the show is well received on the channel. We're having fun with it. Hope you guys are too. But that's it. I think that's all for closing remarks here.
Yeah.
I love it, Frank. And you know, it's true. I mean, we have some of these guests in the vault that we hold on to for a little while for special timing. And it is so exciting. We have so much coming for you guys. You're not going to want to miss this. So make sure to click that subscribe button, whether you're tuned in on YouTube, which you should be. And by the way, hit that notification bell as well if you're watching on YouTube. But also subscribe on our audio platforms. If you want to listen to the show on the go, whether you're in the car, at work, we have Apple Podcasts and Spotify pages. So make sure to go subscribe there as well. Follow our social media, of course, Levara. We got all those links in the description below. And thank you for tuning in to episode number 22 of Innersleeve on SoundMojo.